Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Use One Productions. My name is David, and in our second tutorial of how to make a game series, we're going to be going over doors and how to actually make them functional. In the past, we have had two separate tutorials about how to make doors, and these were fully made with animation and triggers. And I've decided to switch it up for a 100% code-driven door instead of actually making the animations of open, close, and idle. The door will store its local rotation and will pivot on the appropriate axes depending how you want the door to open. If you guys come to enjoy this type of tutorial, please remember to drop me a like and subscribe for more awesome tutorials. And please remember to leave your suggestions in the comment section down below. Please don't forget that inside the description is not only my Google Drive where I leave every single asset that I make on this channel for a free download for you guys to use in your projects, but we also have our Discord with over 800 very talented game developers and students always willing to learn, teach, and help each other out with creating projects. Without further ado, let's hop into Unity and actually see where we left off last tutorial. So here we are inside of the testing Unity scene. It looks like that we have full character movement, jumping, slopes, all that good stuff. We also have a stamina bar that is working and will regen over time, as well as a health bar. It looks like this will damage me, that is correct, and this must just be our test for interactions. Very cool. Let's actually go to that Google Drive that I was talking about earlier that is linked in the description, and let's go to 2025 Unity files, make a game series, and doors tutorial number 2. We're going to want to download this file right here. Once you have that downloaded, let's click and drag that into the assets, and we'll take a peek at what we're working with here. So we have a couple folders inside of the door folder, which is model, which I have created this very basic little rig for a door. We'll actually click and drag that in right now to get it set up. I'm going to place it right in front of my player and actually drag this window down a little bit. And let's actually scale it appropriately to how big our character is. And we will do a little play test to make sure it's a good height. And I think that's perfectly fine for what we're going to be creating here today. Back to the root of the door, we have scripts, we have door interactions. So let's actually open this up and see what's going on here. So if you guys are familiar with my tutorials, I don't really like to go over the script and that be the entire video. It's rather simple. We have door settings, we have a public float for the angle that you want the door to open to, how fast it's going to be opening. The interaction range, this script is 100% through raycasting, so no more reach tool. I also have a key code, just in case you guys don't want the key to be set to one thing. I have it set to E for me, but inside the editor you can change that to whatever key you want it to be. We have an open and close sound effect that can play. And I also have which axis you want the door to rotate on. So it can either go on the X, Y, or Z axis depending on the type of door you're having. For example, the door that I will be currently making is going to be on the Z axis. We don't have to change this inside the script because there will be the toggles inside of Unity. Another example of this would be if you had a garage door, you would probably want to rotate on the X axis. And I'll show you how we're going to set that up a little later. And then we just have some private variables more for the logic of the rest of the script. So we need to find our door, our audio source, the close rotation, which is a quaternion, and we're pretty much just storing that number at the start of the script. So that way the door knows where it is going to be going after it is open to closed. And that same logic applies for open rotation. And then we have a bool to say, is the door opened and are we interacting with it? We will also have a private transform for our player and a private camera, which is going to be our player and then our main camera. At the start function, like I've already said, it's going to find our player and main camera here. It's going to grab the original closed rotation, and then it will actually calculate what the open position should be, and it's going to find our audio source here. In our update function, we actually have a debug.log just in case one of the three main things, the main camera, player, or door, cannot be found. It will tell you inside of the console. And then this little chunk of script here is saying if we are pressing down our interaction key and we are not interacting with the door, it's going to shoot a ray out from our main camera forward, and if it hits the door, it is going to open the door and play the sound, which is also where it will start the coroutine for the rotate door, which is a bunch of calculations right here, depending on the X, Y, or Z axis to be rotating on. Our very basic logic of playing the correct sound effect, whether it is opening or it is closed. And then we have a draw gizmo to actually see the interaction inside of our scene view from the Unity editor itself. So with all that, let's head back to Unity. And I'm actually going to right click on the door and wall we just brought in and unpack completely. Let's open it up and click on the door, and we will make sure the door interaction is clicked and dragged to that. So let's figure out actually where we want the door to be rotating. Let's make sure our pivot point is set to local centered. So that's going to be the hinge side of our door. If you are bringing in your own model, you might not have it in the corner, so it would freely rotate like a door. In order to fix that, what you can actually do is create a empty game object and set it up to where the door hinge should be, like so. Just as a quick little glimpse of what you're supposed to do, I'm going to place that here, saying that this will be the hinge of the door, and then the door object would be placed inside of the empty. I'll actually do that really quick. So now our door is a child of the game object that we just created, and when we go to rotate it, it will rotate where the empty game object was placed. Very nice. For this tutorial, I'm just going to keep going with the door and wall that I have inside the asset pack, but if you had your own door and it wasn't rotating properly, that is how you want to do it. So where was I? The door, let's rotate it, and you could see over here on our Z axis is what is moving the most, which means that's where the door is rotating. If you wanted the door to rotate this way, it'd be X, and then you also have your Y right here. So I will make sure that rotate on Z is the only option selected. Like I said, I'm going to keep the interaction key to E, interaction range to 4, rotation speed 3.5, and rotation angle to 90. That is perfectly fine for tutorial sake. And then we have our open and close sounds, which is actually inside of the door folder that you downloaded inside of sound effects, and then just some basic sounds. So let's go back to the door and make sure those are assigned properly. And in order for these sounds to actually work, what you need to do is add a component, and we're going to look up audio source. We are going to turn play on wake off, and that's all we need to do with this. The script is automatically going to place the open and close sounds in here in the audio clip section accordingly, depending how the script is working, whether the door is open or if it is closed. And now that we have that set up, let's try and play the game. We'll walk up to it and press E and find out nothing happens because the door doesn't have a collider attached to it. So what we're going to do is click our door and add a box collider. Sorry about that. That is my fault. But now if we play it and press E, our door works like a door. And no animations, all 100% made through the code. And like I said earlier, guys, you can adjust the angle. So say you wanted the door to open more. Let's do 120, for example. We'll play it, and it'll actually swing more than what the regular angle would have been. And of course, it's going to return back to the normal state. To bring this up a notch even more, if you click on your door and add the layer of interactable, this is a layer we went over in the first tutorial in order to make our crosshair actually show that we can interact with the object. We can do that now, and it'll show that we can open the door. Very nice. And I think that's going to be about it for today's tutorial, my friends. I hope you find this tutorial way better than the last ones we went over with the doors, considering those were over 2 years ago. In a future tutorial, we'll be going over how to actually make this script where the doors can be unlocked with a key. But for right now, I think this is a very basic way of opening and closing doors, and will work for any prototyping situation you have, or maybe your game just needs doors that open without keys. If you guys have enjoyed this tutorial, please remember to drop me a like and subscribe. If you are new, click that notification bell. As mentioned at the beginning of the video, guys, my Discord is linked in the description down below, as well as the link to my Google Drive where all these assets are for a free download. I'll catch you all in the next video. This is User One Productions, signing off for now. Peace.